yeah, we're live streaming. Hi, everybody. So you can confirmation? If they can't make it, they're supposed to watch at home today or later. Hi, everybody. Good evening. Yeah, I always say good morning at church, right? Good morning, because it's church. You got to say good morning. I'm Pastor Kelly. You know me, but I was gone last week, so now I'm back. And guess who this is? This is Pastor Sheila. Pastor Sheila, I'm going to grab you a microphone, and then you can introduce yourself. Hold on a hot second. There you go.
Hello. Is it on? Yeah, there you go. I'm Pastor Sheila. I'm the new interim associate here, which means I'm the pastor here until they get their regular pastor. But it takes a long time. So I'll be here for, a while. Probably the school year.
What does interim mean?
Interim is so think about it in the school way. I'm like the long-term sub.
Got it.
So let's say your math teacher ended up winning the lottery and deciding that although they do love math, they love living in Hawaii more.
Yeah, I would.
And so they decided, you know what? I'm going to move to Hawaii effective Monday.
Yeah.
Then the principal is going to have to get, sort of a long-term sub as they sort of figure out and do a hiring process, except church hiring processes are way longer, more complicated, and involve way more people than a school one. So instead of getting it right away, it's going to take, probably won't be till next year that they fill that math teacher position.
Right.
So does that make sense? Kinda?
Except, here's the only difference that I know of. Tell me if I'm wrong. Sometimes when you get a long-term sub, they don't know what they're doing. Has this ever happened to you guys?
Oh, yeah, but in this
case, Pastor Sheila knows what she's doing. I just want to be really clear.
I'm actually a math teacher who knows how to do math.
Yes.
I don't know if you've ever had some subjects. It's either I actually did some subbing back in 2021.
Wow.
2020. I don't know.
Some year.
The year that was. Yeah, it would have been 2021 in the spring. I realized I was vaccinated and I had some time, and they desperately needed subs.
How'd that go?
Well, mostly the teachers were had the, sit in the room while they do their Chromebook thing.
Oh.
So it was pretty easy. But I know that it can be hard. It's a big difference. If you get a Spanish class, if your sub doesn't speak Spanish, there's a limited amount of learning that can happen.
Right. But you are an actual real pastor that knows what
I'm an
she's
actual
doing.
real pastor, not someone who only speaks English, trying to teach,
Got it.
calculus
Just
and Spanish.
to be really clear.
Or something. You had a long-term sub? Did they know what they were doing? Excellent. Okay. There are some, ideally, just to finish that out, ideally they try to get long-term subs who know what they're doing, but if your teacher's just gone for a day, they have to just get who they can get, and some subjects are easier to fill than others.
There you go.
Ooh. Yes, so...
Are you used to teaching little kids?
I am used to teaching, whole age range of humans. Pastor job is actually, 50 different jobs all rolled into one.
Yes, that's true. All right, so Pastor Sheila gets to hang out with us today. And first time I hung out at Confirmation here this year, I learned something. So we're going to see if Pastor Sheila can learn anything. Anything else you want to tell us about you?
Well, I hung out with the Sunday school kids on Sunday, and I had them guess, because we did a pet blessing last weekend, and so I had them guess what my pets are. So we've got 2 pets, not a chinchilla. If you were here, then you don't get to guess.
Oh, someone showed me you on the internet with pets. You're famous, Pastor Sheila.
I do not have a rattlesnake on a leash, I do not have a venomous snake. All right, anyone else have a guess? You get a turn after someone else. Ooh. No, but closer.
Bearded dragon would be cool.
It is a lizard. Anyone a lizard nerd want to guess what kind?
Ooh, there's kinds of lizards?
Oh dear Lord, yes.
Okay.
We have a leopard gecko. Its name is Tapioca. We call it Tappy.
Oh.
And then we got another one, also a reptile. It is a snake. Anyone know types of snakes? It's not a grass snake. It is not a garden snake.
It's not a rattlesnake.
It's not a rattlesnake. It is a ball python. and it is named Lemon Drop. It is yellow.
Okay.
Why? Because my kid wanted them.
Oh.
I'm allergic to furry pets.
Oh, these have no fur.
And it took about 16 years to wear, 16 and a half, maybe there was 17 almost, by the time they wore me down into getting the snake. But yes, we are hoping that Lemon Drop will go to college. I am sure that many of you have pets, and so if we start down that road, there will be no other learning other than learning about each other's pets.
Yes.
So I'm going to pass the mic.
That's okay. Today we're talking about the human condition, not the pet condition, but I have a bonus extra credit question for Pastor Sheila, but not yet. You get to rest for a minute. Okay. Hi, everybody. Fantastic. We have already gathered, so now we get to do a prayer. Who would like to read the prayer really loud with a loud prayer voice? Can I give you the microphone to read the prayer so people at home can hear you? Okay, rock it.
Dear God, we confess that we sometimes hide from you, like Adam and Eve did. Help us trust that you will always find us when we need you. Keep reminding us that you are full of mercy and we can rely on you. Lord, when things happen that hurt us in our relationships, help us to receive your forgiveness and to share it with others. Amen.
Amen. That was good praying. Thank you. All right. So, I missed last week, but we have some fun things. I got to see Scott's presentation, so it was cool. Okay, some updates. Update 1. There are 3 volunteer opportunities. 1 didn't even make it on the list. It's so cool. So the very first one I have here, Saturday, October 15th, not this Saturday, but the next Saturday, it's like 10 days from now. They are going to have a big truck or multiple trucks in the parking lot right here, and folks from all sorts of churches are going to show up with boxes full of quilts and baby kits and school kits, and they want to get all those boxes on the trucks. And usually it's little old ladies that bring these boxes, and they can't even get them out of their little car because you can make them 50 pounds each. So we need strong people to help move the box from the car to the truck. It counts for service hours, and you can come anytime from 8 a.m. to noon on Saturday, October 15th. But you're supposed to let Becky know if you can do that. So if you're from my church and you don't know who Becky is, you can tell me and I'll help you out. I actually had to do this when I was in high school for a different truck, different place, and we all had to pass them. And I was like, why don't they get the football players to do this job? But it's fine. You're going to do it for Jesus. And then those things will go on a truck and all go to one warehouse and then go around the world and help a lot of people. So that's cool.
Last time, Stu and myself ended up standing around holding signs. We know it's absolutely nothing.
I am being told that is an... But I would check with Becky. Okay. I don't seem to have that information on my paper. Okay. October 16th is a Sunday. There's open table here at Mount Pleasant, which means that folks get to come in and have dinner. And I hear that this is a fun way to serve, and you get to eat dinner. So that is happening. And then October 23rd is community meal, and that's where you pack up meals in containers that go somewhere else to go with someone and go home and get a meal. So that's 2 ways to help people eat and 1 way to help people get some other stuff. So if you want to help with any of those. I think most of your families just got an email this week about a cool event happening on Sunday, October 16th up in West Dallas. And right after that email went out, the event had to get canceled, so it's very confusing. So these are the events that are happening, and they're happening here. There's not anything happening somewhere else. So if it's happening at Mount Pleasant, it's still happening. Otherwise, it got canceled. But the high school youth are going to do something on the 16th, but you don't have to worry about that. Okay. I got to see your cool presentation from last week about creation. So this is your bonus question. I want you to turn to somebody in your small group and see if you can remember, and if someone wasn't here, catch them up. What can we really do to make a difference in caring for creation? Go. You have 60 seconds. Talk to somebody in your group. What can we do? What can we do to make a difference in caring for creation? Check with your group. If somebody missed it and they're like, I don't know what we're talking about, I wasn't here last week, tell them about Scott's cool pictures, because they were fun. Also, the words were fun. I mean, that's pretty awesome, right? So, we could paint the Sistine Chapel. Anything else? Okay, when your group has an answer, have someone raise their hand. This whole group has an answer? Everyone knows? All right. No, you're just stretching? Okay, right here. Pick up trash. Rescuing animals. Not littering. So, before you even have to pick up somebody else's trash, don't add trash. Okay, got it. Ooh, yeah, saving electricity. Very cool. So we have solar panels on our house and a car that plugs in, so the sun powers our car. I don't know how any of that works, and I forget to plug it in, so my husband's in charge of this. But that's okay. Somebody does it. Yeah. Yes, I forget about droughts here in the Midwest because we have so much water, but other places don't. We have to save water, yeah.
Let's say you have a car that uses gas.
Yeah.
If the place you're going is close, just ride a bike instead of using.
Use less fuel. I love that idea, yeah. Recycling is so important, yeah. Yes, also people. So I do the same thing. When we talk about caring for creation, I talk about nature all the time, but we also have to care about people, and there's lots of ways to do that. So I'm glad you brought it up. That's a really important point. You must have been a listener last week. Yeah. Also planting trees. Yay. Okay, so definitely you were paying attention. Yay for you. So this was a question last week. Do you remember your sign language? Show me with an A, a B, a C, or a D. Show me with your letter. We are made in God's image, which means we all look beautiful like Scott, right? So God must be really good looking. We were created to please God and do God's work. God could use a makeover, or we have the same powers as God. Show me which one. A, B, C, or D? A, B, C, or D? B. Please God, do God's work. All right, so last week we talked about nature, animals, and people. So what's your favorite part? Whose favorite part of creation is nature? You like trees, mountains, oceans, natural things. Whose favorite part of creation is animals? You got pets. You watch the veterinary shows. Whose favorite part of creation is people? We don't have a lot of people left. Middle school's a tough time to like people. I got you. It's okay. Maybe we'll grow into it. All right, so that's fine. Ooh, I get to teach now. Okay, here's the big question for today. Are we ready? Am I a bad person? Don't think about you. Think about me right now. Am I a bad person? I am? This is hard news for me. When I make a poor choice or break a rule, which, FYI, I have made poor choices and broken rules. So if I do that, am I a bad person? I am? I'm not? Who says I am a bad person if I make a bad choice or break a rule? Who says I'm not a bad person? Okay, a lot of you say I'm not a bad person. So if I'm a bad person, what if the rule is stupid pants? Like, what if it's just a dumb rule? Like, can I break it then? I used to have a really strict dress code at my school. Do any of you have dress codes? To this day, I am afraid to wear jeans in church because I'm pretty sure I will get hit by lightning. That was a rule. It was an actual rule. I couldn't do it. It's not in the Bible, but it was a rule. Yeah. You might be hit by lightning. Right. All right. What if someone else makes a mistake? And then I also make a mistake. Is it still a sin? We're both bad. Okay, so today we're going to focus on something called sin, and this has a lot of words in it. So we rebel against God when we sin, but God always comes to us with mercy and forgiveness. So we need to talk about some of those words. So now's your chance in your group. You get 2 minutes this time. 4 ginormous words: sin, judgment, separation, and rebellion. See if you and your groups can come up with an answer for at least one. Go ahead. I'll sing Jeopardy music. Pastor Sheila thought a lot of you were right on the last question, FYI, and she just met you. So I want you to keep talking about sin, judgment, separation, rebellion. You might know the right answers. You got 30 more seconds. Go, go, go. So I'm going to go back a slide because I asked you if I am a bad person if I make a bad choice. And most of you said I'm not a bad person. But I think a lot of your eyeballs were telling me that you knew I had done bad things. Is that right? Are you, like, can pastors make mistakes, do you think? You seem very clear on that part. Okay, so before I get your definition of sin, I wanted Pastor Sheila to share something she just told me, and I learned something every week at confirmation. Help us out, Sheila.
All right, so I am in 22nd grade. That is to say, I'm in the second year of my second master's, and so 4 years of college, 4 years of seminary, and now 2 years more of grad school. So 22nd grade. And in 22nd grade, I learned it's a mental health counseling degree. We talk about the difference between shame and guilt. Okay, so shame, when you feel ashamed, when you feel shame, you think, I am bad. It's a whole total who you are, identity thing, and shame, it gets really oppressive like that. Guilt is when you say, I did something bad. So you could feel like, I am a good person who did something bad, and I feel guilty about that bad thing I did, but I'm still a good person, is different than someone who feels like I am a bad person, I am unlovable, in that sort of like shame of things.
So who thinks that sin has to do with shame, and who thinks it has to do with guilt? Hold on one second, Pastor Sheila. Let's get their definitions of sin, and then let's work it out. Who thinks they know what sin is? All the way in the back, you know? Sin is the act of going against the Ten Commandments. I think it's good, but let's get some more ideas. Sin is when you do a bad. Okay. Anybody else? Yeah. It's like breaking a rule. Okay. So sin sounds like a verb. It's a thing you do. Is everyone in agreement? Sin is a thing I do? Is sin a thing I am? Am I a sin? No, it's a thing I do? I mean, I do a lot of bad things that you all are mentioning. So since I make all these mistakes, so which one is shame? Shame is if I think I am bad?
Shame is when you think you are bad. Your whole identity is that I am bad, I am
and
terrible.
Then guilt is?
Guilt is when you feel, so if you take the last cookie that you know you were supposed to leave for your sibling,
right?
You might feel a little bit guilty.
Because I did a bad thing.
Because I did a bad thing. I ate the cookie that was specifically for someone else.
Okay.
You'd feel guilty, but you shouldn't feel shame to say, I ate the cookie and therefore I am the worst person ever and I'm worthless and unlovable.
Okay.
That would be shame.
That would be shame. So guilt is not a good feeling, but sometimes it's okay to feel guilt.
Sometimes it's appropriate to feel guilt.
Oh, it's not good. It's appropriate.
It's not good, but like, don't eat the cookie.
This is why I'm not in 22nd grade, Pastor Sheila. Okay, got it. So you are clear that sin is an action, and we all do it. Okay, so what's judgment? Judgment.
That's the choir director, so I think I should follow him.
Pastor Sheila has to leave. Bye, Pastor Sheila. Thanks for helping us learn things.
Bye.
All right, what's judgment? Anybody? This one was hard for me. Like, I didn't know it was going to be on this page, and then now it is. So, like, now I got to know what it is. Yeah. Ooh. Saying something bad about a person before you know them. Okay. I think I would have guessed that. I think there's a different answer on my paper. I'll keep looking. What else do we think? Oh, comparison. So like you've got a set of standards and you're comparing something against it, right? Maybe. Okay. Anybody else? We'll circle back to this one. Separation. Who thinks they know separation? Yeah, Ella. Taking something apart. That seems good. Rebellion. Also did not know that was going to be on this page till I saw it. Rebellion, I think of Star Wars. I don't know why, but like that's what I think of. I just think of the rebellion. I'm not sure if rebellion is good or bad in Star Wars, so it's awkward for me, but that's what I think of. Who's got a rebellion answer? What do you think? You were just going yay for Star Wars? Okay, I'm with you. All right.
Like going against rules or a certain way, right?
Rebellion is going against rules. Yeah, you guys did great. So sin is an action or event which is different from God's creation or hurts relationships or uses creation selfishly or is unloving, motivated by fear or hate. But I actually like your answers a lot better. Sin is something bad, right? We know it's bad because it's not good. I don't know what else to tell you. So they're going to say judgment is a consequence, but I like comparing it to a standard. I think I got to change it. I think judgment should be comparison to a standard. Separation is division, and rebellion is resisting authority. Okay, these are good to know. Here's 3 more. These are getting harder. Harder. So, is sin good or bad? Sin is both? I want to hear about that one. Who says sin is bad? Who says sin is both good and bad? Who says sin is good? Tell me what you mean by both. I think I'm seeing this point. Anybody want to argue on his side? Like, because I think it's an interesting... What?
Well, like, we always talk about it being bad. Like, I feel like it wouldn't be good to be a perfect person because, I mean, like, I feel like there's just kind of like you're trying to get out.
Oh, got it. It's not possible to be without sin. So you can be a good person and still do a sin. Is that what you're saying? I am with you on that. We can be a basic... I have a story about that later. Yeah.
Let's say there's a bad rule that it just goes against something really bad.
Right.
So you go against that rule.
Yeah.
That's good.
So I had one of those teachers that probably shouldn't have been a teacher and occasionally would tell me to take my algebra book and hit the kid in front of me with my algebra book. Used to be able to do this and still teach. I'm old. That was not a good thing, right? This is a person in authority telling me to do a thing that I definitely should never have done, right? So at that point, if I choose not to do that, right, I'm in rebellion. I'm going against the authority, right? So the question of sin is there. What do you think? Yeah? Are you stretching? Is it sin or good or bad? What do you think? It's not good. Right. So guilt and shame is different, yeah. We just said the answer, yeah. So here's the deal. If eating the last cookie is a sin, I gotta tell you, if it was one of Stu's delicious cookies, it's gonna feel real good for me to be eating it. So sometimes, even though it's a mistake, right? Sin is always bad in that it's not what God wants for us and it breaks relationships. It might break my relationship with my sibling that I promised this cookie to and then I ate it and then my sibling will be mad at me. But at the moment of eating that cookie, it's gonna feel pretty good because I get to eat the cookie, right? I know, it was very, very messed up. I'd love to tell you more, but it will just distract us from where we're going. So, mercy, grace, and forgiveness are all God words. Do we think that they're mainly good things since they're God words? They are. Do we have any idea what they mean? Oh, chat in your group, make sure. See if other folks in your group, check with them first. Do you think you know what mercy, grace, and forgiveness means? I had to do some research, folks. Research. I had to look it up. I want to know whether I should have had mercy, grace, or forgiveness for the teacher that was okay with hitting kids with books. Which one is coming up? Mercy, grace, forgiveness. What do we think? Uh-huh. This is where I was. Super hard to explain. Who is confident in their answers? You are very confident? Okay, I'm going to give you the mic. You're going to tell us.
Except for grace.
Okay, well, tell the other two real loud. What are they? You were so confident. Tell us which one you are confident on.
Forgiveness.
What is it?
Forgiveness is where basically one person does a bad, and then you're like, hey, you did a bad, but it's okay in the end because it didn't change anything or much.
Okay, I'm with you. You think you got mercy or grace? You got forgiveness? What do you think forgiveness is?
To accept someone's apology.
Ooh, I like that one. What do we think? I did actual research. I feel like I should have had a class on this in pastor school. Maybe I was sleeping that day. Like, I had to go back and look at my notes. Yeah. Mercy. Tell us mercy.
I think mercy, it depends on how you say it.
Uh-huh.
Are you giving mercy?
Uh-huh.
Or if you're pleading for mercy.
Ooh.
If you're pleading for mercy, you're asking somebody to let you go.
Right.
Or you're pleading for forgiveness to let you go.
Ooh.
If you're giving mercy, you forgive somebody.
All right, I got to tell you, you all should have come with me to pastor school. I would have had a better time. I think you know this stuff. Okay, so grace and mercy are both gifts, right? Like, you can ask for it, but you can't force somebody to give it to you. Grace is getting something you don't deserve. Mercy is not getting what you do deserve. So grace is something I just don't deserve to get, but it's given to me. Can you think of an example of something that would be like grace? I don't deserve it, but I got it anyway. Yeah. Yeah, God definitely gives us grace. Right? So, yeah.
If you like broke a rule at school, but like a reason to say is like I say you did it and you think you did it.
I think you're going to mercy. So grace is saying, I took my test. I did not get a passing grade, right? I didn't, but I passed the class anyway, right? So I'm getting something I didn't deserve. I didn't earn an A, I didn't earn a passing score, but I'm going to get one anyway. Yeah. You have something for grace? Uh-huh. Oh, got it. So, like, that is a good example. So I'm being super mean every day to you, every day. I'm just a mean person. And then you walk up and you are nice to me and you give me lunch when I forget my lunch. You are giving me mercy. I don't deserve it. I don't deserve any nice from you because I was very mean every day. But I can't make you be merciful, but you're choosing to do it, right? Okay. Mercy is not getting what you do deserve. So this, I think, sometimes happens in sports. Maybe you fouled somebody, or maybe you deserve to be taken off of the court or something, and they give you a second chance, right? Mercy is a second chance. You aren't getting what you do deserve. So that's a gift from someone in power. All right, so forgiveness is a choice you make yourself for your own mental health. Forgiveness is a choice to let something go. Forgiveness says I'm going to take responsibility for my own actions, but that doesn't mean the other person gets no consequences, right? They might get a consequence if they did something really bad, but forgiveness means I'm going to let it go. So in this example, I'm being really, really mean to you every day at school, every day at school, every day at school, which is very sad, right? Yeah. You may decide to forgive me and just move on, but I may have lost all chances of ever being friends. That's my consequence, right? Like, you might have the mercy to not be mean back to me, right? You might forgive me and let it go so you can have a happy life and not think about me because I'm a mean person. But I might have lost the chance to be your friend, right? That's a consequence of my bad choices. You might be a good friend. You might be, right? So that's all of this is happening. Okay, you're going to do this in small groups because it's a better conversation piece. So in Genesis, small group leaders, your book wants you to read from verses 1 to 13. I get that. There's a lot of stuff after that. Skip all the way down to 22 and 24 for me also and read that, because if you include those two verses, you're going to see some of these words we just practiced. You're going to see some grace, some mercy, and some forgiveness happening. Otherwise, you don't see that, and it's an awkward story. So you're going to do this with your groups, okay? And here's what I want you to listen for if you read this in your groups. Who's in the story? Who's not in the story? Because a lot of people tell you someone's in this story that's not in there. What happened? What didn't happen? Because a lot of people tell you stuff happened in this story that didn't happen. And when exactly was the sin? And how did God respond to it? You don't have to answer these questions, but I think they're super interesting. And since this is a really smarty pants class, I feel like you're going to get them because you know a lot of things. Okay, so can anyone read any of these words? It says my faith story, and then it's got some other words. Who can read any of these words? Can you read any of them? You can? What do they say? Sinner and saint. Which one says sinner? The top one on both sides? Okay, they both say sinner, and what does the bottom one say? Saint. Now turn your heads upside down and look at it the other way. Which one says sinner and which one says saint? This is the same image. It is one word. If you go to Lutheran pastor conventions, all the cool people have this tattooed on them, so just FYI, it's a thing. The word is written in such a way that depending on how you look at it, it either says sinner or it says saint. What does it mean to be a sinner? A sinner is something that describes a person. Who is a sinner? What does that mean if I'm a sinner? That I did a bad? Just one? I did multiple bads. I make a lot of mistakes all the time. Just badness. So sinner just means, does it mean that I am bad? Remember what Pastor Sheila said? What does it mean? It means that I do bad things, right? So a sinner is somebody who does bad things. What is a saint? What does that mean? We don't use that a lot in Lutheran churches. What does it mean to be a saint? Yeah. A person who just never sins. That is a commonly held definition. So points for guessing the most popular answer. It's not right, but it's a really popular one. Yeah. Someone who's been forgiven of their sins? Ooh, so someone who did a lot of good things, more good things than bad things. Also a very popular definition. Not exactly true, but very popular. Who else has got one? Yeah. A high level of goodness. Are pastors saints? Because we're super good? And I went to pastor school? Yeah, thank you. That's very kind of you. You are right. Pastors are not automatically saints. I actually really love that answer. Fantastic. Okay, so there are a lot of popular understandings of saint. The Lutheran understanding of saint, you were really close to it. A saint is anyone who has been forgiven by God, who's received God's grace and mercy. Saint doesn't mean that I'm perfect, because only Jesus was perfect, so no humans can ever be saints. Saints are people who have been forgiven by God. So am I a saint? Yes. Are you a saint? Yes. Am I a sinner? Are you a sinner? Yeah. So the saint-sinner word, it's the same word, no matter how you look at it, is a concept we use in Lutheranness to say, I don't need to have any shame. I'm not a bad person, right? I do some bad things sometimes. So being a sinner is a description of what I do, but not a description of who I am. But a saint, did I do anything to earn the title saint? Did I win it? Did I do lots of good stuff? Did I earn it? No. How did I get the title saint? Yeah. God gave me the title saint, right? So that's what I am. Is saint something I do? No. Saint is something I am. Sinner is something I do. Yeah. So I want you to turn to your friend, and do this for yourself first. Make the cross on your forehead. When you were baptized, the pastor put an invisible cross on your forehead. And that means that you are beloved by God. It's an invisible cross. God can see it, and you know it's there, but nobody else sees it. So make your own cross and say, you are forgiven. I am forgiven by God. Now I want you to look at somebody else and make a cross on their forehead if they're okay with it, and say, you are forgiven by God. If they're not okay with it on their forehead, you can do it on their hand. You are forgiven by God. All right. Do we have time for a 5-minute story about me being a saint and a sinner? Yes. Okay. I am glad that you already know that pastors make mistakes. It makes this story a lot easier if we can just start with that. So, I haven't been a pastor for a very long time. I used to do other things. I was a teacher for a long time, and then I was a youth leader. And when I was a youth leader, I thought, I want to go to school to be a better youth leader. So I went to church school. I had already been to church school. I went to second church school. And I was taking classes, and I realized that God probably wanted me to be a pastor and do some pastor stuff. I was like, okay, that's fine. But does anyone know how you get to be a pastor in the Lutheran church? What is something I had to do? Anybody know? Yeah. I did. I studied a lot. I went to school, and I got a whole fancy degree. But that's not enough. That's only one part. Does anyone know what else I have to do to be a pastor? And everybody else? I know, I didn't know this either. So, nobody ever told me. I had pastors my whole life. Nobody ever explained it. All right, here's what you got to do. So first, you got to go to college and get a 4-year degree. Then you have to apply to another school called a seminary and get another 4-year degree, right? So it's a lot of degrees and it's a lot of studying. Even if you graduate from that seminary, you're not a pastor. You're just a person with an expensive piece of paper. Because what you need to do now is you need to ask permission from the bishop, the Lutheran bishop, of the part of the United States where you lived. So there was a bishop in the Southeast Michigan Synod, which means he worked in Detroit, and that bishop had a whole team of people that had to interview me. So they had me come in and ask me a bunch of questions and write a bunch of essays, and then they decided whether or not I could go and be a practice pastor at a hospital. They got to decide. I had never met these people before. They had never met me. They just read a paper, and they talked to me for 20 minutes, and then they decided whether or not I got to go be a pastor to people who were dying in a hospital. No, yeah, right? So that was my class. It was an old people hospital, so I walked around. They all went to bed at 4 p.m., and I worked the 4 to midnight shift. So I just walked around the hospital all night waiting for somebody to die, and if they were dying, I would go in and pray with them. And it was a Catholic hospital, so they didn't like me at all, because they would say, they're like, are you a nun? No. Are you Catholic? No. They're like, we don't want you. Okay, thank you. And so then I'd leave, and anyway, it was a long story. So I did that, and it was fine. So then I took some more classes, and what I have to do next is have another interview with some people and one of my professors. And if I pass that interview, then I get to be a practice pastor at a church with another pastor in charge of me. So I passed that interview, but they told me, not everyone on that committee thinks you're going to be a good pastor, Kelly. So keep your nose clean, because we know that you're not very good at this. But you can go. Here's a church. So they sent me to a church with another pastor, and I had 12 things I had to do that year. So I had to teach confirmation, I had to talk about money, I had to go to a dead person's house. There's a whole list of things. And then I got a grade on each of them, and the people in the congregation had to write a lot of things down, and they wrote down that they thought Pastor Kelly was doing a good job and she should be a pastor. And then the bishop read it and said, that doesn't sound right. Because the bishop said, I met Pastor Kelly at a pastor conference, and she's really mouthy, and she said some things I don't like. And I'm pretty sure Pastor Kelly's going to be a horrible pastor. And so that person had a big argument with me and everyone else. There was a whole big argument about whether or not I was allowed to have another interview. I had done 4 years of school. I had done 6 months in a hospital. I had done 12 months in a church. But they said Pastor Kelly didn't do everything perfectly. These are the lists of things she was supposed to do. And one of the things she did was say mean things to the bishop. And people who say mean words shouldn't be pastors. So I don't think she gets to be a pastor now. I know, but I am a pastor now, so you saw the end of the story. Okay, got it. So that was the middle part where you're supposed to have the big music in the back and you feel real sad for the main character. Okay, so then what happened is the pastor I was working with said, well, I think she'd be a pretty good pastor. And the bishop said, we think you're lying. We all know she's not going to be a good pastor. And finally, the person I was working with, he said, Kelly makes mistakes. She's not perfect. We didn't say on the paper that she's perfect and she did everything perfect. We think that she's doing a pretty good job. And we think it's okay that she sometimes makes mistakes, because she tells us when she makes mistakes. And sometimes we have to tell her, Pastor Kelly, you made a mistake, and she has to apologize and then fix it and then live with the consequences, and we think that would be okay. But then I did something really dumb. Have any of you ever done something really dumb? You know it's going to happen, and in retrospect, you're watching it happen. When you watch the movie in your brain, this took a long time, And there was like 1,000 seconds when you could have changed what was happening, but in real life it happened like this, and then you did it, and then you were screwed. Has this ever happened to you? Yeah, that happened to me. What? Yeah, it definitely for sure happens. I did a thing, because I was mad at my bishop for saying mean words at me. So I did a thing, and I went to a different kind of church, and I didn't tell my bishop. And I tried to get a job with these other people that liked me, because I was really mad at my bishop, and I didn't tell him. And I just sort of went off here and did another thing, which I definitely was not supposed to do. And then, when you make a mistake, somebody always tells on you. Somebody told on me. And I got a phone call that said my bishop was real embarrassed that I had done something without his permission and made him look bad. And the Episcopal Bishop of Michigan, who serves for life, was so mad at me that he had declared that I could never be a pastor in any Episcopal or ELCA church in the entire state of Michigan, as long as he was going to be the bishop, because I had made a mistake. So now we have this situation where I did all the things I was supposed to do, I passed all the tests, and folks said I could be a pastor, but the bishop said I can't be a pastor in Michigan. So the compromise was, if anyone else anywhere in the whole United States will take her and let her be a pastor, I guess we'll let her be a pastor, but she has to leave. And no one else in the whole United States wanted to take me, except for the bishop of the Greater Milwaukee Synod. The assistant to the bishop called me and she said, "Kelly, I want you to tell me what the Holy Spirit has been doing in your life. Tell me about how God asked you to be a pastor." And I started crying. I said, for the last year and a half, all I've heard is all the mistakes I made and all the things I'm supposed to do perfectly. And this is the first time in 2 years that anyone asked me, what is God doing with you right now? And I said, if you think God can use somebody that makes a lot of mistakes but is willing to admit them, then I think I could probably be a pastor in your synod. But you gotta know, everybody else said no. That's who you're picking up. And Bishop Paul said, I could work with that. And I was the second pastor that our current bishop right here in Milwaukee, I'm the second pastor he ordained. He flew into Michigan to do it. All my family came and all my friends came, and we had like 200 people in a big party. And I got to put a special red scarf on, and the bishop put some hands on me. And even at that service, I was saying some things I shouldn't do because I do that a lot. And one of my friends looked at me and he goes, maybe you should just let Bishop Paul be in charge of this. He told me, just basically be quiet for an hour while they get you ordained. And then they sent me to Milwaukee, and now I get to hang out with all of you, right? And the truth is, like every other human being, pastors are sinners and saints. We make a lot of mistakes, and sometimes we do a lot of good things, just like you do. And what God is saying is God makes us a saint, not my good things. I could have gotten an A in every pastor class, and I could have convinced everyone in every single question they ever asked me about what a great pastor I was going to be. But I only get to be a saint because God decided to forgive me. I don't have the power to do that, even though I'm the pastor. So nobody else has the power to do that for you either. No human person can tell you that you're a bad person, and no human person can give you that gift, but God did. God told you, you are my child, says God. You are a saint. God made you a saint, and no one can ever take that away from you, no matter what happens. You might make big mistakes like me and embarrass big, important people. You might get in big trouble, but it's okay. There will be another chance for you to do something amazing because God believes that you are a saint. That's my face story. All right, but I took more than 5 minutes. So now we got to go really fast on our quiz show. Thank you. Yeah. That's a good question. How does a bishop become a bishop? We actually vote for the bishop. So like once a year, all the pastors from here and 2 or 3 not pastors from here, and all the pastors and 1 or 2 not pastors from every other church in the synod come to a big meeting, and they pray a lot, and they vote about which of the pastors is going to be the bishop. That's a really good question. I didn't know that either, and then someone told me. Any other questions? Okay, quiz show. Are you ready? We got to go fast. Ever since creations, as humans, we have a history of fearing snakes, rebellion, baking apple pie, or living in garden. A, B, C, D. You're too smart for me. Rebellion. When rules are broken, there's a price to be paid. Lawyers get us out of it. God's too busy to care, or it's not my fault. Yep. Sin can be seen as any action. You guys were right. It's an action that causes acid indigestion, sibling rivalry, God to come looking for us, or a breakdown of relationship. A, B, C, D. Good. So in my story, what relationship was broken when I made a mistake? I did break some relationships. That was my sin. It was my mistake. I broke relationships because my mouth said dumb things. Yeah. I hurt his feelings a lot. Really a lot. I did make that mistake. He's not wrong. Yeah. And now, the only way to fix that is for me to apologize, right, and work on making it better. Because I'm the one that made the mistake, right? That was the breakdown. When God sees us making poor choices, God looks for someone more mature, pretends to be blind, does not leave us, gets angry, and punishes us. I know you know this. God doesn't leave us. God doesn't get angry. No. God does not. So God doesn't just look away from our bad choices, right? We have consequences. If you make a mistake, there's a consequence. But God will be with you through it. It will be okay. Sin is not just what we do, it's whom we trust. This is confusing. We didn't talk about it. So make a big guess. Is sin about trust or not? What do you think? Sin is about trusting. If we trusted God perfectly all the time, we'd only make good choices. But our parents deserve judgment and grace. What do you think? They do. Yeah, they do. Yeah. Ooh, I have a movie, but now there's not time to watch it, so that's okay. So I'm going to tell your leaders what the movie is, and then you might be able to watch it later, because we ran out of time. I don't want to take any more time. But it is a music video by Micah Tyler. It's called Walking Free, and it's pretty cool. Micah Tyler, Walking Free. So you can look it up yourself, or you can do it, but you need to get to your groups. We're already over by 4 whole minutes. 4 whole minutes. I know, not a lot of minutes, but you're okay. So go with your group, do cool things. I will see you back here next week. Bye. Thank you for listening to my cool story.